Hello everyone, today's video I will be showing you how to do a two-color 3D flower similar to what I have here on my manicure. This is done simply by picking up two beads of color on the brush at once and placing it onto the nail and forming your petals. Very easy to do, so we'll get started here. I have 2 coats of China Glaze Gelées Refreshment on my swatch stick here. I've cured both coats and I've removed the sticky layer. The colors I'm using for this are Glam and Glitz. This is number 301, Leticia. And I'm using, this is just kind of a generic white I picked up at my nail supply place. Bright white. And of course you have your monomer. I'm using my 3D detail brush, and just open your products here. We'll dip our brush. We're going to pick up a bead of white first, and then we're going to dip into the purple, and then we'll place that onto the nail. And again, you want to wait till that bead turns matte before you start forming your petal. And it's just about there. And using the flat of your brush, flatten out that bead. I'll let that set up just a couple of seconds more before I move on to my next bead. I have found that these Glam and Glitz, it appears that they used more probably clear acrylic in the mix than they did white, because on its own it's not very opaque when you use this purple on its own. You could probably mix it with some white. It'll soften the color a little bit, but it might make this a bit more opaque when working with it on its own. And I found too that this particular product takes longer to set than just using the white on its own. We're going to pick up another bead. It's too big. And again, we'll let that set till it turns matte. You can do however many petals that you would like. I'm just going to do probably 3 for right now. You can see how that first one, how that purple's kind of coming through that white to kind of give it a nice variation in the color. Very pretty. Again, we're going to flatten out our bead. It would help if my fingers wouldn't slip. And again, we'll let that set up a little bit before we place our next one. I haven't yet checked to see what the proper ratio of pigment to acrylic, either clear or white, is, but I'm interested in making my own colors. I did see a video where somebody actually used chalk and mixed it in with white or clear acrylic. It seemed to work pretty nicely. I'll have to check into that and see. Again, we'll wait for the bead to turn matte. Doesn't look like much now, but once we start adding on the other petals, it will. Now for these beads, I'm going to try and overlap it. I'm not going to, when I form it, I'm going to form the petal to where it's in the middle of the two that I have here. These lines right here. Now you can give these as much of a 3D or flat look as you like. I kind of like the bottom petals to be a little bit more flat as then I start to place the center petals, and I like those to be a little bit more raised. I'll place one last bead in the center. Trying to pick up small beads can be a challenge. And you can use just the very point of the brush to kind of make a little donut hole to get that last little bit. there you have your 3D flower. Very easy to do. There are quite a few different ways to make your petals. It's really your imagination at this point. One thing that I was doing to kind of add more interest and to give this a little bit more shadowing was I'd pick up the brush, load it with some monomer. I have a pretty wet brush here. We'll pick up some of that purple, just a teensy little bit on the tip. See, it's a very, very tiny amount. And then to add some shadowing kind of underneath some of these petals, I'm going to place that bead and kind of move it around. It's still wet enough that you can spread it out, and it kind of gives a little bit more of a shadow effect under those petals to kind of give it more depth and more interest. You can see it adds just a little bit more depth to those petals. Another way I've seen it done in other videos is they'll come along with some white acrylic and just outline the very tops of the very edges of the petal in white to just add more contrast. I haven't tried that yet, but that would be another way to add some interest. So as you can see, it's not very difficult to do. Just making sure that you have the right consistency on your bead before you actually start forming your petal, and then you're golden. So I hope you have found the video helpful. If you have, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and as always, I do appreciate everyone's support, and until next time, I will see you later.